With the Premier League season about to begin, it's time to go over my predictions. So anyway, let's get into it with 20th Burnley. Recently promoted Burnley finished second in the Championship with a massive 100 points. They were praised for their superb defensive skills with 16 goals conceded in 46 games. However, I think they'll struggle a lot more against Premier League opponents, and with James Trafford gone, that defence will be a little bit weaker. They've made some signings like Broja, Walker and bringing in Jadon Anthony on a permanent deal. However, I don't think it will be enough and they will finish dead last. 19th, Sunderland. Sunderland were victorious against Sheffield United in the Championship playoffs and finally returned to the Premier League. They've made some huge signings like Enzo Laffi, Diarra, Angria, Roos, Granit Xhaka and so many more. They've done an incredible job strengthening the squad. However, they were too far off the pace of Leeds and Burnley in the Championship and lost the last 5 games of the season. Even with these new signings, I don't believe they've got the depth and power to survive in the top division. The Black Cats will go back down. 18th, Brentford. A wild prediction with Brentford being relegated. Since promotion from the Championship in 2021, they've been a strong Premier League side. However, this season, they've lost stars like Mbeumo, Norgard and Wissa is also likely to leave soon. A huge concern of mine was also the departure of Thomas Frank to Spurs. His replacement is Keith Andrews, who has no managerial experience and has been a set-piece coach for Brentford. He was rejected from the managerial role at MK Dons and is now taking over a Premier League team. Personally, I don't trust it and see a shock fall off for Brentford, which leads them to relegation. 17th, Wolves. Wolves finished 16th last season, and this season I expect them to barely survive again. Strand Larsen will be great for them up front, and Wolf is also a big signing. However, they've lost both Cunha and Ait-Nouri, who were huge parts of their team last season. Wolves will struggle again and will be lucky not to be relegated. 16th, West Ham. West Ham will suffer this season in my opinion. It's Graham Potter's first full season in charge of the Hammers and I don't expect him to be too great. West Ham have also lost kudos to Spurs, which is a huge attacking loss. I don't expect them to be strong defensively either, and the London side will have another poor season. 15th, Everton. The Toffees have moved away from Goodison Park and have made some big additions to their team like Barry, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, Alcatraz and even Jack Grealish. And having David Moyes in charge of them is great. But for some reason, something just feels off this season for me with Everton. It might just be the new stadium, but Everton feels different this year and despite the additions of the squad, I think they'll only finish 15th. 14th, Fulham. Fulham have had a quiet transfer window so far, and with an 11th place finish last season, I think they'll drop slightly below that with an ageing squad. Muntz is also rumoured to join Leeds, and that would weaken their attacking power even more if the deal goes through. It's a simple season for Fulham. 13th, Crystal Palace. It's going to be hard for Palace to match the glory of last season with their FA Cup victory. And after losing their UEFA appeal, they'll play in the Europa Conference League this season too. I trust Oliver Glasner, but with European football, I question Palace's squad depth to be able to play both Premier League and European football. And with Mark Guehi potentially moving to Liverpool, they could lose defensive strength. 12th, Spurs. I don't think Tottenham will have a great season once again. So far, they've not really strengthened their squad, apart from the signing of Kudos, and will also have UCL football this season after the Europa League win. But I don't think Thomas Frank can really save Spurs yet, especially with the lack of signings so far. 11th, Leeds. I'm predicting newly promoted Leeds to have a great season. The Championship champions return to the top flight with big signings like Stach, Perry, Bajal, Goodmanson and more. The squad looks strong defensively, it's great. The only issue is, I think they lack a player with that attacking edge. In the past, they've had Rafinha, Ruter or Somerville, and right now they lack that. But I still expect a potentially great season for them. 10th, Bournemouth. Bournemouth sold big with departures like Kerkez, Zabarani and Huijsen, but have brought in Petrovic and also Diake. I think it'll be a solid season for them and they'll finish in the middle of the table despite the massive changes to their defence. 9th, Brighton. Fabian Hurtzler's Brighton are giving me a lot of hope this season. Of course, they've lost João Pedro, however, they have great talent with Luther, Minter and Bailba if he doesn't go to Manchester United. I think 9th is the minimum for Brighton, and they could definitely finish a couple positions higher with a great squad and a great season. 8th, Nottingham Forest. Forest had an incredible last season, and of course we're playing Europa League football this season. It's going to be hard to keep up the momentum, but I have faith in Nuno. The defence is strong with Murillo, Aina, Nico Williams, Sells and Milinkovic. We've seen additions to the squad like Igor Jesus and potentially more like James McAtee. It'll be harder for them in the Premier League as I'll need to balance it with Europa League fixtures too. However, I've got faith in Forest. 7th, Newcastle United. The transfer window hasn't gone well for Eddie Howe so far. They've brought in Elanga and Ramsdale, but things haven't exactly gone to plan. They've lost out on Trafford, Sesko, Cunha and Buemo, João Pedro and Ketike and Liam Delap. Star striker Alexander Isak also wants to leave and refuses to play for the club. It's not ideal for Newcastle, and with Champions League football as well, I think it'll all be too much for them. 6th, Manchester United. Manchester United had an awful last season, but I've got a little more faith in them this season. They've made huge signings like Sesko, Cunha and Mbuemo. I think they're still slightly weaker in defence, but with many other teams having European football, they can focus on the league and have a decent finish. Something Amorim really needs. 5th, Aston Villa. I have faith in another impressive season for Aston Villa. They lost out on Champions League football at the very end of last season, which hurts a little for them, but their squad looks strong to go again. Martinez, Rodgers, Watkins, Yuri Tielemans and have brought in Evan Goodinson from Nice. I've got plenty of faith in Unai Emery. 4th, Chelsea. I'm expecting a lot from Chelsea this season. Pedro, Gittins, Hatia, Delap are all additions to a strong Chelsea squad. I personally believe they need a little more defensive strength with a centre-back, but apart from that, it's a squad that's ready to rival Man City, Arsenal and Liverpool. With Champions League football as well, I think this could be a great season for the Blues, and things could potentially be even better than 4th. 3rd, Manchester City. Pep City have lost Kevin De Bruyne and also see Rodri out injured for the early parts of the season. They've made big signings though, like Rangers, Aït-Nouri, Cherki, Trafford and Naipan. I think Manchester City can still have a great season and will be strong competitors for the title. 2nd, Arsenal. I think Arsenal will be 2nd once again. Norgard's been brought in, Zubimendi as well, and of course Arteta has got his dream striker. Madueke joins from Chelsea and the squad only looks stronger. However, I still don't think it will be enough for Arsenal to take the title and they'll be runners-up once again. This then means, first, Liverpool. I think Liverpool will once again be champions. Slot's squad was incredible last season and were amazing in the league. And they've only strengthened since then, with huge money spent. Frimpong, Kerkez and Ketike, and of course the big money spent on Florian Wirtz. The squad is better than ever, and Slot has finally got some players on his own, rather than using what was handed down from Klopp. I think Liverpool will be champions again. But anyway, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing, as it makes all the effort I put into this video worthwhile. Thanks once again, and I hope to see you next time.